Well, there you go, guys. Just as if I was in Colombia, South America. Fresh made chicharrones with guacamole and pico de gallo. Let's try it out, shall we? Look at how those turned out. Oh, 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 oh. You down with TTT? Okay guys, so today we're going to do our pork belly skins. I'm going to show you the process that I do to make kind of a traditional Colombian, because I spent quite a bit of time in Colombia, and my Colombian lady, girlfriend at the time, showed me how they make these homemade. Very, very common. So I'm kind of trying to replicate that. The first thing we're going to do is just trim them down and boil them. So you want to boil them in water before you ever think about frying them, because when you boil them in water, you'll get all the impurities out of the pork skin and the fat, right? So we want to get all that out and boil them off before we think about frying them. And you see, these are the skins that I've taken off of pork bellies that I'm making bacon into, and they do have a lot of fat and meat, right? So what I like to do for boiling is just go ahead and cut them, like I say, into more manageable pieces. You can double them up like this. Kind of saw them. Use that claw method with that position hand, right? The claw method to keep you from cutting yourself. All right, guys, that ought to do it. Let's get them in the boil. Back here in the man cave, we got water boiling. No salt, no spices, no anything, guys. Not at this point. We just want to get them in there, get them boiled so the impurities will come to the surface, and we can skim all that off. And after we do the skimming, then we will add some spices, a little bit of spice and stuff like that, and we'll let them boil for a total of 30 minutes. Stay tuned. Bring those to a pretty quick boil, and you got to stay with them and stir them. All right, don't run away from them. Don't run away. Okay, guys, so you can see we brought our pork belly to a boil, and it's gonna need to boil for, you know, probably 10 minutes while you're skimming. After you get everything skimmed, then you go the full 25 minutes, right? So it's not really ready to skim yet. It just started boiling, but that's basically what you want to collect, right? And then your pork stock will actually be a much better stock. And if you don't have a reason to keep the stock, all right, it'll have some really good pork flavor, because again, it's got a lot of fat and meat on these. So you could save this stock for cooking any dish that you might call for pork broth or chicken broth, right? So you'll have some nice broth once this is all finished with the water. If you don't want to save your broth, you can actually take the fat and the broth and everything, put it back together, and use it in your animal feed. So put a little bit of broth in your dry dog food. They'll love it. So yeah, but as for consumption of the broth to use, like I say, in an entree, or, you know, you could even boil noodles in it, right? You're going to have some nice pork flavor, but this is what you don't want, right? You don't want all that slimy fat. And like I say, don't ever run away from them. While they're boiling, you can stir them up there and make sure they're not getting stuck together. And as you stir, move them around a bit, you'll see the fat really start to accumulate in certain areas. I've already got a lot of it out there. out of there. So if we need to do a little bit more skimming, we can, but that's the early stage, right? That's what's going to come out to the surface first. So we got that out of there. And like I said, it's great for animals, but if you want to keep pork stock, you don't want all that in it. Really going to ruin your stock. Okay guys, we're like 10 minutes into the boil now. You can see I've got some more fat I can skim off of there. So you can continue to do that, but we are at the stage where we're going to go ahead and add some spices, because I'd say that at least 80% of what I wanted to get out of there is gone now. You can see it's pretty much boiling, pretty clean. You can't eliminate all the fat. Yeah, so 10 minutes in, and now, so we got another 15 minutes in the boil. I use some bay leaf, a little bit of kosher salt, some peppercorns, and because I'm doing the Colombian style, I'm adding a little bit of red chili peppers and a little bit of cayenne, just to give the broth a little bit of kick, right? But the main thing is the black peppercorns and the bay leaves. Those are the two that, regardless of what style, crispy pork skins or more chicharron style, chicharrones, yeah, bay leaf and peppercorns really good for all of that. You don't need to do the salt or the chili peppers or cayenne pepper or anything like that, but I recommend you do the peppercorns, black peppercorns, and the bay leaves for flavor, because it really goes good with the pork. All right, so yeah, another 15 minutes and we'll be ready to get them out of there and drain them off. And just another thing real quick, FYI, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but you know, I cut raw pork on here, so I have sanitized everything, my knives, my steel, everything. All you need is about a gallon of water and a cap full of bleach. That's all you need, guys, is some bleach water. That'll sanitize everything, and then you can use some clean water to rinse, and then dry everything up with paper towels, and there you go. So that's kind of how I keep things sanitized as I go, so I'm not just piling up dirty stuff, especially when working with meats, because you got the pork blood and stuff, contaminants, right? We don't want any salmonella or any bacteria of any kind to develop. And you don't need soap. All you need is a cap full of bleach. Matter of fact, I recommend you don't use soap on your chopping boards. Always bleach water. And like I say, 1 cap and a gallon of water, and you can fill the bleach in there. That's plenty strong enough to kill all the bacteria. You can always kind of check them out, right? See if you think it's cooked that fat down enough before you pull them out. You get them over here on the rack. I'm going to let them go a little longer. These dry, they're going to be much less water content in the skin and the fat than there was before we boiled them. So it's kind of like how you make homemade hash brown potatoes. You want to boil your big russet potatoes for at least 5 minutes, right? Softens them up a little bit, and then also after the potatoes dry, there's much less water content in them than trying to make hash browns out of a raw potato. That's horrible, right? Trying to make hash browns from a raw potato is a big mistake. Same thing, it's taking the water out. It's really, so it's weird. You're like, why would I boil before I fry? But that's really the reason. Get the impurities out and boil the water out of the pork. Okay guys, it's been a full 30 minutes. I've been stirring. There's really very little fat content coming to the surface now, so we're going to go ahead and shut them off and get them out of there. Now, the thing about this broth is, if you wanted to strain it further, you can even use a like a cheesecloth, right, material straining net, which I have, and after it cools, run it through one of those, and that'll get out all of the peppercorns and bay leaves and sift the fat even further, and then you'd have some really good pork stock. Stick it in the refrigerator and use it, you know, like I say, in any dish you want. Scatter them out here and let them dry. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter if you turn them over. You know, they're going to drain, and when you got them on a raised rack like this, you get air on both sides, right? So you can, if you want to turn them all that side down, I think they drain a little bit quicker. Okay guys, they've been air drying for 10 minutes now. It's only 4 a.m. in the morning here. I'm kind of an early riser sometimes, but not a fly anywhere. No bugs on them, so I don't have to worry about covering them. If you are, just cover them up with some paper towels or something while they're drying if you've got insects in the area. So we're just gonna get these off here. They're cooled off. Now what I like to do is go ahead and pat dry some more. You can use a good clean kitchen towel if you want. I like to make me a little mitt out of some paper towels. I got a wad of paper towels in the middle. I've already kind of dried the skin side. So flip them over, just pat them up. You can let them dry a little longer too. So you can see, you know, there's a little bit of moisture there, but a lot of that you're seeing is just fat, right? Like I say, I like to use a nice mitt here and just throw this away when I'm done and just get them patted, help them along a little bit, right? A lot of water content out before we fry them. Cut them in little wider strips, and then we're going to score the fat and the meat just a little bit, not too deep. All right, a few scores in there. All right, that's how we're going to do the traditional Colombian style. Just allows them to get crispier when you fry them. Okay guys, I'm gonna let them set a little longer and then I'll get them all ready. So as you can see, I've just taken the squares and cut them into strips and then score the strips pretty deep. Don't cut through the skin. That's it guys, then you'll have them all ready for the first fry. All right, I think the dogs are getting hungry. Better give them a snack. Stay tuned. Okay guys, I just do a little extra step after I get them cut into the pieces ready to fry in oil. You can put a fan on them and let them air dry just a bit more. They're kind of greasy, right? Got a lot of fat on them and stuff, but it's all right. I just want to make sure there's not much water left, right? So I'll give it maybe 5 minutes, let them dry under the fan. Okay guys, really crucial, on your very first fry, remember we're going to fry these guys 2 times. On the first fry you want an oil temperature of about 200, okay? So you don't want too hot. We're at a little hot there. So very low fire. I pulled them back. Take the lid off for a minute, right? So I could do a large pot with a bunch of oil, right? But I'm experimenting. This first fry is going to be 100% natural coconut oil, which is common here in Thailand. That's what we're using today on this first fry. I'm experimenting with a couple of different methods here. Traditionally in Colombia, they would fry these in pork lard. So I've got some beef lard here, or beef tallow. So that's why I'm just using a small pot. I'm going to do two different oils and kind of check and see which one I prefer. Still running a little hot here. Coming down though. Coming down. Okay. Now remember, really, really low fire. 200 degrees oil, and because I'm just using a small pot, I'm not going to do that much at a time, right? So if I want to cool my oil just a bit more, because we're running about 250, go ahead and put a couple pieces in there. You can see they're just going to bubble a little bit. The oil is not at the typical fry temperature of 325 degrees. That's what we'll do on the second fry, okay? And now that we've got quite a few in there, we probably cooled down the oil, even though we're setting over the fire now. Yeah, we're 199, 200, right? So that's what you want. I think that's enough oil for a few more. Now we've got the perfect temperature on the oil. And you want to stick with these guys now. You don't want to leave them. You don't want to leave them. You know what I'm saying? Stick with them and stir pretty frequently. And again, I prefer wood, especially with oil, but even with the water. I'm just going to make sure they're not sticking on the bottom there, staying separated. Now the oil might have cooled off a little because I put quite a bit of pork belly in there, right? You keep an eye on that, but you do not want to walk away at this point, even though you're going to fry these. 204, we're good. You're going to fry them for, you know, at least probably 15 minutes before they get floating, because you're frying slowly, right? So you don't have to stir constantly. You just want to kind of keep an eye. And of course, the hot spot's going to be on the bottom, so you kind of make sure they're not sticking. I really wanted to try this coconut oil out on them and see how they taste, and then last batch I'll do some beef tallow. Stay tuned. And what you'll notice, guys, is, I mean, they'll pop. You got to really be careful. They'll pop a lot on you. You got to remember, even though we're using coconut oil, there's so much fat on these pork bellies that it's adding pork lard as we're cooking, right? So yeah, there's a lot of fat content in there, and they will pop on you, but just keep letting them go. Keep letting them go till they're all floating up. They're not going to be crispy on the first fry, really. Not really crispy, just nice and fried. The second fry is when we'll get really crispy. Check our temperature here. Still at 200, 207, guys. So we're not over cooking, trying to crisp them up too much. We're slowly cooking them, and it's a good idea to pull the ones that you are still yet to cook to one side, so I can drop my fried ones over here, because we're going to fry them a second time, right? So kind of set it up to where make it easy on yourself. Like I said, I could have used a large pot and done a lot more quantity at one time, but experiment with the two different oils, because I want to know which one I prefer. I really want to see how they do in the beef tallow. They absolutely will pop violently, guys. Now, if you prefer, you could use a cast iron skillet for your deep fryer. I like aluminum just because it heats so quick and cools quicker, right, for deep fry. But they will pop, so stay your distance. I got my long spoon here. Right? Look at that. They will get radical on you. All that skin and fat. And we're only frying at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, guys, so we are not frying that hot. And there's still, look at that, like a battle going on in there. Now they're all starting to float pretty good. There's none really settled at the bottom. You can take a few, look at them. Of course, you can have some come apart a little bit. A little bit more on the first fry there, I think. Okay, guys, they're floating really good. Oh, and they're still going nuts. We're going to get them out of there. They're not going to be crispy yet. We're hoping for crispier on the second fry. You know what I'm saying? So we got maybe 70% of the fry done, and then with the hot oil on the second fry, we should get crispier. They're not crispy fried yet, but they are, when they dry a little bit, they are nice already. 269, we're a little hot. Pull her off for a minute. And add some, which will immediately start to cool it down. These are room temperature, so it'll start to cool it down. Because of my small pot, I'm not doing too many at a time here. Go back on there now. Low fire. There we go. Let them get violent. But if you really look at these compared to the ones that we haven't fried yet, and look, we got some nice brown. Oh yeah, they're much harder now that they're draining, stiffer, right? So critical. You got to fry them twice, guys. Got to fry them twice. These are not easy to make, but I'll tell you what, when they're done, they are amazing. And if you make you some homemade guacamole with some pico de gallo as well for dipping, out of this world, guys. So stay tuned for the finished product. I think you've seen enough. I'll show you a little bit of the second fry, and then we'll be ready to serve. Okay, guys, I've started my first batch of second fry. These are all first fry. I've added some more oil because I brought the oil up to 350 degrees, and they are looking floaty and crispy on this second fry. and they haven't popped violently or anything like they did on the first fry. At first fry, I'm going to warn you, be cautious. I would definitely be frying these outdoors. If you have the single stand burner for deep frying with a big pot, that would be ideal, because that first fry now is dangerous. When the oil's only 200, they really get violent, as you saw earlier in the video. So let's look at these second fry, and we've been going about 10 minutes on 350. So now they are looking like chicharrones are supposed to look, right? Look at that. Nice and hard. And I turn my fire down. You don't want to get your oil too hot, right? Way too hot. Let her cool down. But look at these first batch now. Ooh, they are crispy, guys. I think we actually have some Colombian style chicharrones. Now this is the coconut oil. And then I've got some here that's beef tallow. So they are crispy. Yummy. A lot of work, but I think it's going to pay off. 355, we're good. So we got a real low fire, and we got the temperature just the way we want it. So I'm guessing about another 10 minutes for the crispy. Look at that golden brown. Crispy skins, but still got a little soft meat and pork pork fat on them. Proper. They aren't sticking together too much either on the second fry at all. Kind of cool. So guys, I'm just bagging a few of them up. I cooked some of them a little bit more crispy and then took some out a little bit earlier. They're still crispy, but not quite as crispy. I can't tell a substantial difference between the coconut oil and the beef tallow. So that really didn't matter, to be honest with you. I mean, you got so much pork flavor. I really don't tell much difference. So anyway, from what I understand, you don't want to like vacuum seal these. You want to leave them to where they do get a little air. So I'll probably just put some little clips on these, right? And you can see they're still warm, so it's adding a little bit of moisture back into the crispy, right? Like I say, these aren't quite as crispy, but I like to have both styles, right? They're still crispy, they're just softer. So one thing that I like is a little Tabasco. Thought I'd try one of these. Well, you still get the crunch, but the fat and the meat, it's not cooked quite as much. Oh my God, it's good with some Tabasco. I think I'm happy with trying different styles. These are done. That's the last batch, guys. Got them all floating up there nice. Nice and crispy. And there we go. And you know, my oil held up pretty well. My coconut oil and my tallow. Because again, you've got so much oil coming out of these things as you cook them, right? So much natural pork oil that adds volume to the oil. Regardless if you're using coconut or beef tallow, you're getting a lot of pork oil immediately as soon as you drop them in there, especially at that 200 slow temperature. So we got the crispy with a little soft. And here's some that we cut the skin to where there's really very little fat on it. Kind of Thai style. They're really crispy. Those you put in your pork noodle soup and stuff, right? Let the broth soak in, have a little crispy, like use them like crackers in your soup. Oh yeah. So just the skins by themselves get really hard, but when you got some fat on, right, they're crispier than the lighter cooked ones, but they're still got some fat on. Guys, I'm really happy with these. See if I can get some avocados today and make some guacamole and some tomato and onion, cilantro and stuff, lime juice for some pico de gallo. Oh, that's hot. Woo. So yeah, crispy, but the fat, it's still got some pretty soft texture to it, but the skins are nice and crispy. Wow. I'm liking that, guys. All right, let's see if we can make some sauce and do a final close here. Well, there you go, guys. Just as if I was in Colombia, South America. Fresh made chicharrones with guacamole and pico de gallo. Let's try it out, shall we? Look at how those turned out. Oh, 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 the perfect snack. Now some people put tomatoes in their guacamole. I do not, because I had the pico. If I didn't have the pico, maybe I'd put some tomatoes in there. But really simple. Avocados, cilantro, lime juice, sea salt, a little bit of onion, a little bit of minced garlic. That's all you need for a good guacamole. Mm. Crispy. Oh my God. You could alternate, right? Little pico. Fresh Roma tomatoes, cilantro, onion, lime juice, peppers, jalapeno peppers. Not complicated, right? My God. Incredible, guys. Absolutely amazing. Been a long, long time since I had these. I was in Colombia back in 2012, so it's been a long time. It's such a great snack. When you go back and forth between the pico and the guac, still adds so much flavor. They're just perfect. Crunchy. Let's try a combo, shall we? A little pico, a little guac. Guys, they're freaking perfect. Absolutely perfect.